Good morning, Eric. How you doing?
Morning. I'm doing all right.
It's an exciting opening session.
Not too bad. Yeah, it was a good one. The chat function is kind of cool when because normally you don't have that, so it's nice to be able to hear from people in a little two-way fashion.
Fast and furious. You gotta keep up with it though.
Yeah, well, timing is tight. You gotta make sure we're always speaking really quickly. All right, I see we have some folks joining. I know that this is a very short session. It's only 20 minutes. So I want to do a really brief introduction before I pass it over. And yes, David, you could just text me when I get on stage. That's good to me. It sounds good to me. So thanks everyone for joining. I'm gonna, like I said, do a really brief introduction. We have EPAM, who's one of our premier sponsors of this event, someone we've had a long-term partnership with. And we'll be joined by Seth Gregory from EPAM and Jahan, who's working with Rodan+Fields, who's the #1 premium skincare brand in North America. They have a great story for us today. It's about enhancing customer experience with the Drupal recommendations engine. We're going to talk a little bit about the power of open and an API-first approach, and really how they built this really cool and interesting interactive quiz to build a more engaging and interactive experience. And we're going to hear some great results, but you're going to hear them from Seth and from Jahan and not from me. So with that, I'll just pass it over. Thanks everyone for joining, and I'm looking forward to a great session to kick us off today. Yeah.
Thank you, Eric. Your session's a tough one to follow, but we'll do our best. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Our session is about the Rodan+Fields skincare solution tool and enhancing customer experience via a Drupal-based recommendation engine. So we'll get into what that's about. But just to give you a quick sense of what to expect, we will cover some background information on the business and specific needs that this application addressed. We'll cover an overview of the solution and the technology choices there. We'll walk through the back-end management and the front-end user experience. We'll talk about how this fits into the larger technology landscape at RNF. And we'll also look at some results and the business impact that the solution tool has had. But before getting started, let's do some brief introductions. And Jahan?
Hi, my name is Dr. Jahan Shafazada. I'm head of UX at Rodan+Fields. I'm also a senior director in digital product management. And I lead the area which the solution tool is responsible for.
Thank you. And I'm Seth Gregory. I run our Drupal practice at EPAM. I'm responsible for growth and development of that practice and ensuring successful delivery of projects like this one. So with that, I will turn it back over to Jahan to give us some background.
Hi there. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Rodan+Fields and what makes us unique. The Rodan+Fields brand is based upon 3 foundational pillars. 1, great chemistry. RNF designs products with really high efficacy and show demonstrable results. And so our customers love our products. The second thing is that our approach, we don't take a one and done approach when we suggest products to enhance your skin or solve skin care problems that you have. We formulate our skincare products to work with the skin of the customers, trying to find the right set of ingredients and the right set of products to match their conditions and concerns. And then lastly, we have a field of highly skilled consultants who can guide our customers through finding the right skincare as they talk to them and address their skincare concerns. And what's at the crux of all of this, except for the physical products themselves, is that all of this is delivered digitally. We have a digital front end. Our commerce tools on the back end are also all digitally enabled. We provide a suite of marketing, libraries, videos, conference calls. All of that is digitally enabled by Rodan+Fields. And therefore, all of the digital touch points that we have are extremely important to make sure they're highly scalable, highly robust, and represent a premium skincare brand. So as you look at the customer experience or the solution tool, it's really important to try to answer the question of how do you deliver a great customer experience? How do you scale it globally? And how do you find the perfect blend of products in order to match people's skincare concern? And the solution for us is the Rodan+Fields solution tool. The previous solution tool was based on a lamp stack solution, but it was difficult to scale. It wasn't very clean, and it didn't represent the elevated feel that Rodan+Fields wanted to portray. The previous tool was also very expensive to manage. It was isolated from the rest of our tech stack, and it required special resourcing in order to upgrade or change or go into a new country or market. There was a lot of rework and a lot of upgrades that had to get done. So we decided to re-platform the solution tool with the help of EPAM. And we wanted to solve three main problems. One, just refreshing the quiz and the experience itself so that we could increase quiz completion rates. The second thing we wanted to do was improve the recommendations in the add to cart performance in order to grow product purchases. And the third thing that we wanted to do was deeper integrate the solution tool into the other RNF platforms to facilitate customer retention for the consultants. And again, trying to make sure that our platforms are well integrated across everything else that we do is really important because, as I mentioned, everything's digitally enabled. And if there's one piece of information that we can get out of one platform and enable a better experience across another, that's something that we want to do. A lot of people talk about data as a product and the solution tool as one of the touchstones for people to engage with RNF. It's really a place where we want to make sure that we have good instrumentation and good integrations across the back end. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Seth to talk to you about the solution.
So let's dive into the solution. First off, why Drupal and why Acquia? So a lot of the why Drupal has a lot of the same answers that I think we're all familiar with here. It's a mature, scalable, easy to work with platform, has really great capabilities for managing content, managing workflows. And it also has really strong support for working with APIs, and it lends itself to integrating with all the other systems in the landscape, like Jahan mentioned. It also lends itself to decoupled architectures, which we'll talk about in a minute. And it led us to be able to optimize some of the operations tasks building on Acquia, since there were some existing RNF apps already in that environment, and we could share some of the infrastructure and maintenance load there on what has already proven itself to be a secure and scalable platform for Rodan+Fields. Adding to that security is Acquia Shield, which we used to give us an isolated and secure network for storing any personal information that might be collected by the app. So why decoupled? Again, not an uncommon story here in terms of the initial drive to decouple. We wanted to have a more engaging front-end user experience driven by JavaScript frameworks. We wanted to make sure people were completing that quiz. And an enjoyable UX can make a huge difference in keeping the user interested. And here we opted to go with React for our front end to build this interactive user experience. And of course, this pairs really well with Drupal, which manages all the content and the business logic behind the scenes. So in terms of how we decoupled it, this is kind of a hybrid approach. The application is effectively a fully decoupled application. It has the ability to stand alone. In fact, during development, the team even uses a separate Drupal container and Express server with Yarn for building out that front end. But for deployment, our CI/CD process builds the app and links it directly into the Drupal theme so it can be served alongside the Drupal application right at Acquia. So talking about the backend content management, the content and configuration and business logic, all of this is managed through the Drupal administrative backend. So we have products and product bundles and regimens that are imported consistently into Drupal via an integration with SAP Commerce Cloud and that system. And then we can enrich those products with additional content from within Drupal. We also have video content that's associated with those products. That's managed from this interface, and it integrates with the IBM Cloud Video Platform. That's where those videos come from. The quizzes themselves are also created via this backend. You can kind of see over on the right-hand side here an example of some quizzes, quiz questions within a quiz. Unique quizzes do exist for different countries, so you can have different questions. It supports multilingual questions, and that's all managed through this interface. The scoring rules, the way that the quiz is scored and the recommendations are created, are also managed through here, and recommendations, once quiz is complete, are stored as Drupal entities as well. So this quiz module, one of the main things here is for it to be easily updated, easily maintained, and easily extended for additional use cases in the future. So as Jahan mentioned, the previous quiz tool was a little bit difficult to manage. It was very expensive to maintain. We wanted this one to be easy to maintain and enhance, in some cases without any code or even developer interaction. So one of the ways that we wanted to address that was ensuring that we didn't have any complex conditional logic blocks governing the recommendations here. So no if, then, else, mile-long blocks, which may or may not have existed in the past. Everything here is centered around this confidence-based scoring model. It also makes sure that there's no hierarchical dependencies between the questions. We have support for multiple choice questions, easily support multiple select answers, and we also support both positive and negative scoring on those. So for instance, if somebody were to answer a question about their skin concern and they chose that acne was a primary skin concern, we might add a point value to the spotless regimen and the unblemished regimen. But at the same time, if a person answered that they were in the 18 to 24-year-old age group, we would add a significant negative score value to things like anti-aging product recommendations, because we wouldn't want to recommend those. The way this works is also well positioned for future enhancements with AI-driven recommendations. So this is the way a lot of those AI recommendation algorithms work, and it would be fairly easy to hook that up to this existing system. And just an idea of what this looks like behind the scenes for assigning score values to different questions for a specific regimen, that's all managed through the Drupal interface, so there's no code changes required. So in terms of what the user sees on the front end, to get to the quiz in the first place, Rodan+Fields independent consultants can create personalized links that will bring those prospective customers directly to the tool to begin this journey. And the personalized link will automatically pre-fill some of the user's information. It also creates an association between that independent consultant and the buyer so that consultants can follow up, ensure they're achieving the results they want, or if they're having difficulties with the tool, they can follow up with them there as well. It's going to guide users to a selection of regimens and products, enhancers that are appropriate to their individualized needs. There's an educational aspect to it, providing information about the products, ingredient details, clinical results from trials, regimen tip, and other FAQs. And then on the back end, it seamlessly connects those recommendations with a shopping cart and the ability to check out through SAP Commerce Cloud. So we figured the best way to talk through the front end is actually to just go ahead and demo it. As I mentioned before, we have the ability to have quizzes with variant content for different countries or regions. It also sets the currency in the shopping cart. So for instance, here we're in the Australia version, but we can go up and click the flag to change that. There's some informational things about the quiz, but we'll just get started. And right off the bat, we tell the user it should only take about 2 minutes if we want them to get through it. So we collect some basic demographic information here, but we're already tabulating those results and scores for recommendations. We have support for several different types of questions. So for instance, in this case, it's a multiple choice single option select. And this next one here is actually a multi-select. So here we'll choose face and eyes that we have concerns on. Environment also makes a big difference when we're talking about skincare. And for each of these, we also have this, why do we ask this choice, to explain the rationale behind each question. So for instance, on this question, I'm personally more likely to stick with a 1 or 2 product regimen just because I'll forget, but others may want a more complete skincare package. So that will also influence recommendations. Here, the name and email address would be pre-filled if a user was using one of those magic links. And then we present the user with a what we heard and allow them to go on to the recommendations. So we have recommended regimens and processes. We have all that information about clinical results. There's the ability for people to join PC Perks, which is the premium customer program, and add directly to cart. And it's added and updated on the bottom of the page as you go through. There's also enhancers or additional products, and we've incorporated a virtual try-on functionality where you can use either your webcam or upload a photo. We'll go through here and just upload my headshot, and we can see what some of these different shades might look like on my skin and complexion. Go with maybe this one. Looks good. Feeling healthier already. Add it and continue to check out. And this passes us on to the SAP Commerce Cloud backend. As you can see, it's linked with the independent consultant who created the link, and they can complete the purchase process. So again, the recommendations are calculated by some custom Drupal module code that implements that scoring model based on the point values. We talked about the We Heard response. We talked about results being securely stored with Acquia Shield. And these recommended regimens and products were returned to that store interface, passed along to SAP Commerce Cloud. And it also integrates with the independent consultants' other backend tools so that they can track purchases that originate from their magic links and follow up to answer any questions or if people have not completed the process. Here's just one quick peek under the hood of the scoring calculations. So this is one of the administrative tools we built. Essentially is a streamlined version of the quiz that allows us to quickly test the scoring rules, ensure we're getting the recommendations we expect, and see why. Without the slick React front end. So finally, I just wanted to touch on the discussion of robust API integrations that we mentioned earlier. This is very much an integrated process. It fits into the broader technology landscape at RNF. This process flowchart here doesn't even fully cover all of the integrations, but you can see how communication between each of them is critical to the operation of the tool as a whole. So consultants create their magic links in the internal comms corner tool. API integrations are largely coordinated by MuleSoft for integrating the systems together. Quiz activity, any quiz activity updates salesforce.com for lead tracking. Those final recommendations and the routine details are sent via email directly to the user and are stored in the tool, but they're also stored in Salesforce Marketing Cloud. The product data is imported back from SAP Commerce Cloud into the Drupal entities in the solution tool. And then as users are checking out, the commerce session information is sent forward back to SAP Commerce Cloud. So all of this extensible generalized architecture was planned and built in large part as an accelerator for future applications and other integrations in the landscape. It's an impressive tool in its own right, but it's also meant to be a starting point for the future. So what was the result of the effort, and what kind of an impact did it have on Rodan+Fields business? So I'll hand it back to Jahan to talk about the results.
So in the chart that you see on the screen, it's a little bit of an eye chart and a little hard to read, but I'll go over the basic metrics. One of the things that we did is we fully instrumented the entire application from every question to who was driving traffic to where they went after they looked at the solution tool quiz. So we had 100% instrumentation across the board for both transactional behavioral metrics. And when people started using the new product, we found a 30% increase in skin quiz completion rates. We saw a 100% increase in lead capture rates, people leaving their email and being able to have their consultant follow up with them, and a 50% increase in subscription enrollments for long-term customer retention. Overall, we exceeded our metrics in terms of what the project was set out to do, and therefore we are currently building a future roadmap on the back end that Seth just went through. So as we grow into new countries, new markets, and launch new skincare products, we've got a back end and front end tool that integrates with all of our other applications. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Seth.
Thank you, Jahan. So I think we're just about at time. We might have time for one or two questions. Any additional questions we don't get to, absolutely feel free to drop by our EPAM booth and chat with you about either this or anything else we can help you with. Thanks, everybody, for coming and listening to us. I haven't been monitoring the chats. Let me see if there's any questions we got here.
I think there was just one around unique entity types, which I'm not sure if you want to handle now or follow up on that, but it's a great story. And I'm kind of in the chat giving my 2 cents about what's going on. But if you want to, I don't know if you want to take that question now or if you want to do a follow-up.
Sure, yeah, they are unique entity types for each of the entities that I mentioned. They do come over from the SAP Commerce Cloud product catalog, and we've created several other entities, like even country is an entity that links with quiz. So there is a data structure there that I won't go into the full detail of, but yes. And I see that question about scoring. Currently, the scoring is determined manually with between the algorithm and the point values given to each question for each regimen or product. But what we were mentioning is that it mirrors the way that the scoring is done in a lot of machine learning or AI recommendation tools. So it should make it easier to incorporate those in future enhancements.
And there's human judgments behind the scoring as well to validate the results from the scoring that's given through the tool. There's also a question about, is there a Google Data Studio integration? There's not a Google Data Studio integration, but there is a backend Kafka integration that goes into BigQuery. So we are using the pub sub model in order to land data into a different Google platform for analysis and reporting.
And is the quiz module specific to Drupal 9? I believe this is still on Drupal 8 at the moment. So it's Drupal 8 specific, but it should be ready to go to Drupal 9 when everything else is.
Cool.
And integrating other backend data systems from Drupal is, yes, all using APIs. So some of these are integrated with direct Drupal API endpoints. Others